much even Stevens in the quarterfinal first legs over in the Europa League. But of course, who's going to take advantage in the second legs? We've got those coming around the corner. I've got my predictions coming with them right about now. Today we look forward to the 2021-2022 Europa League quarterfinals second legs, and we'll get to that in just one second. If you know where you've been, smash your subscribe button to get you back today. All things Europa League related, Papa Rose related, world football related. We got it all here, boys, across the Wanderski, of course. That's right. So 3 out of the 4 games, of course, in the first legs in the Europa League ended up all square, with, of course, Rangers the only team to take the L on this one. But can they bounce back? Of course, when they revisit this quarterfinal at Scotland. Of course, we'll take a look at all of it in a minute. Of course, big shout out to my VIPs, the other patrons, guys. Thank you for loving, of course, behind the scenes. But anyway, let's get into it. Of course, recap the results, which, of course, took place last round. Then, shall we? Let's jump in the deep end, and hopefully, you are, of course, going to join me along the ride. So here we go, folks. We are right here down the bottom there, of course. Let's recap, of course, the 16 clubs that started this all-important knockout stage. We said goodbye to Red Star Belgrade. We said goodbye to Monaco. Leverkusen are out. Of course, Spartak Moscow crashed out with, of course, the travesty that's taking place over there at the moment. Meanwhile, Sevilla are out. Porto have joined them. Galatasaray and Real Betis. Those were the teams at the quarter of the last 16. But, of course, these are the clubs that made the actual quarterfinals. Rangers, Braga, Atalanta, Leipzig, West Ham, Lyon, Barcelona, and Frankie Frankster, of course. Let's revisit the results then, shall we? Kick it all off with Portugal. Of course, it was I went with the 2-1 win for Rangers, of course, over in Portugal. But, of course, actually it was a 1-0 win for Braga, who have the upper hand. Rangers, of course, have to duke it out again, this time in Scotland. Hopefully turn around that first leg result and maybe pick up the W. Meanwhile, draws galore everywhere. Atalanta, they went took on RB. They went to Germany, of course, and drew 1-1 in the end. I went with a 3-1 win for Atalanta, which was a bit of a shit show there. Meanwhile, of course, West Ham were a man down, of course, for the bulk of the second half on that one. Could only muster a draw over in London. They have to do it the hard way over in Lyon next time around. Of course, I went with the 2-0 win myself. And, of course, Barcelona went to Germany, and they could only draw as well. 1-1 in the end. 3-1 win was my pick so far in that game. So pretty shitty across the board there. So I got myself a big fat hairy 0 on that badger. What about you guys? How did you guys get on? Well, a lot of you guys, a couple of you guys got 0 as well. A few of you got 1, but Russell Frost kicking ass with 3 draws. He went for 3. Well, he got 3 results anyway. With a couple of draws, maybe in a result for Braga in the end. So well done to Russell Frosky. And of course, what's that done to the overall leaderboard for our prediction league? It looks like this: GA15 running away with it, 67 points. Max and Gaddy up there, 67 as well. And where is Frosty? Of course, trying to make up for lost ground, but it's still got a lot of work to do. In fact, he's probably a little out of it at the moment. But well done to GA15, Max and Gaddy at the moment, who are leading the charge. Remember, only one of you can win this at the end. This is the link if you want to get involved in the next round of matches, of course, which are the quarterfinals, second legs, and they're right around the corner right about now. So here we go, folks. Here we go with, of course, the quarterfinals, and, of course, it is the second legs. We're going to jump all the way to Glasgow, and that is, of course, Rangers up against Braga, this time over in Ibrox. That's right, of course, Rangers have actually played Braga 3 times to 2020, picking up 2 wins, of course, over the course of those 3 games, just 1 for Braga and 0 draws. Rangers, though, winning just 1 game in 4, of course, 50% form over the last 6. That's 1-3 and lost 3, of course, up against Braga side, of course, just 1 defeat past 6 for them, 75% form heading into this game. Of course, last time I played each other in Glasgow was a 3-2 win for Rangers, and if that was the case, that might be enough to get them through to the knockout stage. Of course, I think the away goals no longer exist now over in European football, so we'll see about that. Of course, Rangers coming in just on the back of a loss to Celtic, and of course Braga, they'll take on St Mirren this weekend, as of course that's actually taking place tomorrow as well. As for Braga taking on Valtia, of course, in the Portuguese top flight, and they're both, these two sides, despite both of them playing on the road this domestic weekend, are expected to win this game. However, as for this game, of course, over in Ibrox, of course, Rangers are favoured to win this game. 35 is your, of course, your draw, and 65 is your Braga on this one, of course. So I'm actually backing Rangers to win this one, 2-1 in the end, which, of course, if you can get your calculators out, would actually mean 2-2 on aggregate, which would mean extra time or maybe even penalties. So I've actually given it to Rangers, but mainly to the fact that this game will be in Rangers. We saw, just look at how drastic effect having the second leg of a World Cup qualifier was for poor Egypt, with all the lasers and all that kind of stuff being shot in the face. I just think the atmosphere at Ibrox will be too much for the likes of the Bragans, of course. So Rangers will go through to the semi-finals. Who would have thunk it, of course? Speaking of the semi-finals, who will they meet? Will it be Atalanta? Will it be, of course, RB Leipzig? Of course, we're going to go to Italy, and of course the Joe Guais Stadium as Atalanta host Leipzig for the second leg. Of course, played each other just the one time. We'll talk about that in a minute. Of course, Atalanta, though, just one defeat past 6 of them, 67% form heading into this game. Leipzig, though, unbeaten in the last 11, picking up three wins and 3 draws over the last 6 games, 75% form for them. Of course, the reverse fixture was a draw, and of course, Atalanta coming into this on the back of a 3-1 loss against Napoli, though. They'll be looking forward to this weekend's action up against Sassuolo in, of course, Serie A. As for Atalanta, as for Leipzig, of course, they did beat Dortmund 4-1 quite convincingly and take on Hoffenheim this weekend. And again, both of these matches are this weekend on Sunday, and of course, Leipzig hosting Hoffenheim, expected to win that game. Atalanta on the visit to Sassuolo, where they're expected to win that game as well. So both of the sides should be buoyed on by a good result this weekend, heading into this game, of course, over at the Guay Stadium in Atalanta. Now, of course, the odds for this one, 13-10 is your Atalanta, 5-2 is your draw. 2-1 is your away win. That is, of course, RB Leipzig, of course. When you look at this draw here, I'm thinking it's pretty even, of course. When you look at Rangers potentially going through to the semi-finals, I think the winner of Atalanta and RB Leipzig have a realistic shot to actually make a final here. And, of course, the winner of this realistically needs to have their act together. I think it's going to be quite tight. Going to go with a 2-0 win for Atalanta on the day, which, of course, will be 3-1 win for them on aggregate. And, of course, we'll set up that semi-final, which we'll talk about in the end. How about on the other side of the bracket, we've got West Ham, of course, absolutely fantastic the fact that they're here up against the Lyon side, of course, who were competing in Champions League football last season, of course, earlier in the campaign as well. So yeah, good chance for maybe West Ham to maybe to find a result here. Of course, doing A-OK for the most part of things over in the domestic fight. So let's take a look at it then, shall we? Over at the Goumba Stadium over in La France, of course. Lyon, though, coming to this on the back of just one win the last 5 games, 58% form over the last 6. That includes 1 defeat in the past 6 as well. Up against the West Ham side, of course, 1 defeat past 5 for them, 58% form over the last 6 as well. Of course, the reverse fixture was a draw. That was in London. Of course, West Ham were a man down as well. Hopefully, they can compensate that with, of course, some other some squad depth perhaps on that one. Of course, Lyon did pick up a 3-2 win over Angers prior to that game against West Ham, and they look forward to a game against Strasbourg coming at you on Sunday. As for West Ham, are taking on Brentford on the road. Of course, this coming weekend in the Premier League, a tight game, of course, where Brentford are just a narrow favourites. Of course, having a bit gone on a good form for them recently, with, of course, that big win with over Chelsea last round. So, of course, difficult couple of games for West Ham, but of course, if they could get through this, they'll put themselves on the path of something special. Of course, the odds though for this one, 11-10 on is your Lyon, 5-2 is your, 3-1 is your West Ham. So Lyon are favoured on this one. West Ham are, of course, the underdogs to get over the line. I've gone with a draw here, which of course will be interesting, spicy, and we'll drag it into extra time, and of course maybe even penalties. And I've just given it to West Ham because I just think something special is going on at the moment with Moyes' boys, and I think they're going to get through to the semi-finals on this one. So quote me on that one. Clip it if you like it. I don't know. Next, of course, we have Barcelona up against Frankie, of course, over the Camp Nou. That's right. And again, on the first leg, coming into on the back of a draw as well. So Barcelona up against Frankie. Of course, Barcelona unbeaten in the last 14 games, picking up 83% form over the last 6. Up against Frankfurt side, also unbeaten over the last 6 games, picking up 5 draws in succession, 58% form over the last 6 as well. Of course, Frankie did beat Sevilla last round. Of course, prior to the game against Frankfurt, they're coming to this on the back of back-to-back clean sheets. As for Frankie, there's been 5 draws on the bounce, including draws against Greuther Fürth, Leipzig, and of course Real Betis, which got dragged to overtime, extra time, whatever you want to call it. As for Frankie, they're taking on Freiburg this weekend in the Bundesliga in the battle of the Fs. As for Barcelona, they're taking on Levante over in La Liga. And again, actually Frankfurt just narrowly favoured to beat Freiburg this weekend, with of course Barcelona red hot favourites to beat Levante heading into this one. Of course, 9-4 on is your Barcelona, 65 is your 7-1 is your long shot. That's Frankie. I'd love to see Frankfurt do the odds on this one, flip this game on its head, and flip this tournament on its head. But I just can't see. I just think Barcelona will run right 3-0 in the end to set up a very, very fruity semi-final for the likes of West Ham, for the likes, of course, the neutrals here, because that feels just like a classic old school sort of game, even though I don't really know West Ham's European history, but it just feels you kind of amazing. Just imagine, of course, the Barcelona, the contingent going to, of course, West London again, taking on, of course, an old school traditional team like West Ham. I think it's special, and it'll be, of course, an occasion to watch, and I'll be looking forward to seeing that game pan out as well. So if you can't figure out what I'm trying to say here, this is how I make up the semi-finals. Rangers, a bit of a spicy, of course, up against Atalanta, of course, West Ham up against Barcelona over course of 2 legs. That's, of course, what I think about it. Make sure you get your own picks as well. To do that, just go here, of course, /Europa Picks. That's, of course, the place to be. And, of course, before we bounce out of here, let's take a look at the odds. Braga, Rangers, both 25-1. They are, of course, the underdogs to lift the trophy. Frankie are 20-1 at the moment. Lyon are 8-1. And West Ham are actually 4th favourites, 8-1, of course. But they've got to get past Lyon in the process. In fact, they're joint level with Lyon as joint 4th favourites. Atalanta 92, Leipzig 92, Barcelona 11-8 to go the bloody distance. That's, of course, to take the stake from the bookies, who they think, of course, make sure to give them a love and pass the old 5 smash me all subscribe. Say and of course make sure you smash your subscribe. That's it, guys. Of course, looking forward to the semi-finals when, of course, they come around. But of course, before that, we've got to wrap up these games with the quarterfinals. But until then, smash your thumbs up. See you soon for the next one. Until then, boys, we're done right now.